And the Laikipia County government has condemned the alleged cover-up of the murder of Agnes Wanjiru, a 21-year-old mother killed by a British soldier in Nanyuki 9 years ago.
Search for justice in the murder of Agnes Wanjiru, a 21-year-old woman from Laikipia County, has finally made a breakthrough
with the shocking news of a confession by a British soldier who has admitted to killing a Kenyan woman in Nanyuki town and dumping her body in a septic tank. The killing took place 9 years ago.
When a sex worker from Nanyuki went out on the night of 31st March 2012, she thought it would just be a normal business night, and she hoped to make some money to feed a 5-month-old baby, but she would mysteriously vanish, only for her body to be found badly decomposed 2 months later inside a septic tank of the hotel where she is believed to have spent her last moments alive alongside some soldiers of the British Army Training Unit Kenya. What would follow were allegations of a massive cover-up and a series of lies and deception by the British Army. This is the case of Agnes Wanjiru. Nanyuki town, Kenya, is located approximately 200 kilometers to the north of the capital city, Nairobi. It is famous for farms, ranches, game parks, and wildlife conservancies. It is also the base for people seeking to climb Mount Kenya. Nanyuki is a Kenya safari destination for both domestic and international tourists. Moreover, it is in Nanyuki that the British Army has a permanent garrison from where it conducts annual hostile terrain exercises. Duncan Sandys, who was the Secretary of State for Commonwealth Relations, signed a post-independence defense agreement with the new Kenyan government on the 3rd of June 1964. The agreement provided grounds for British troops to undertake exercises in Kenya up to twice a year. Nanyuki, which is a home to over 70,000 Kenyans, would also serve as a home to the late 21-year-old Agnes Wanjiru. Agnes lived together with her sister Rose Wanjiru at the time of her disappearance. She was a mother to 5-month-old baby Stacy. Agnes acted as a hairdresser, but had recently turned to sex work to brace her parenting journey, unaware that it would turn out exactly the opposite of what she might have hoped. Agnes Wanjiru's sister Rose Wanjiru claims that on the 31st of March 2012, when she returned home from a neighbor's house, she realized that Agnes, her younger sister, was nowhere around the homestead, prompting her to inquire around about her sister's whereabouts. Rose was informed that Agnes had gone out in the company of 2 friends. When Rose woke up the next day, Agnes had still not showed up, which according to her was out of character. She once again inquired of her younger sister's whereabouts, this time from one of the friends Agnes had gone out with the previous day. The friend, only identified as Flora, informed Rose that Agnes had last been spotted at the Lion's Court Lodge, at the Rista Hotel located in Nanyuki town. Therefore, Rose, alongside their uncle Murithi Kamodo, headed to the hotel to seek answers. When they arrived at the hotel and asked about Agnes, the hotel's gatekeeper at the time told them that nobody by that name was at the hotel and arrogantly brushed them off by telling them to go away and probably look for their relative on the white settlers' farms. Unaware to Rose and her uncle, that statement from the hotel's gatekeeper was the biggest hint that a British soldier was involved in the disappearance of their loved one. According to witness accounts, however, Agnes was last spotted entering a room at the Lions Court Hotel in the company of a British soldier on the night of 31st March 2012. Another person who confirmed the presence of Agnes Wanjiru at the Lions Court Hotel on the night of her disappearance was the DJ on duty that night. Although the DJ, identified as Douglas Oberu, claims he was among the last people to see and talk to Agnes, he said the police never interviewed him on the events of the fateful night, over 10 years later, when was the time he gave these statements to a journalist. Oberu also confirmed that indeed Agnes was in the company of some British soldiers on the night of her disappearance.
Kapoa, majini wakakamu, walikuja lori ya kwanza, watu soa, lori kama mbili walizilikamu. So ikakuwa busy, walami tupu, bama limejaa. Mzee mmoja akaniambia, where are the ladies? Kabla give me a minute. Nikachulia mabesti wangu. Wakakuja taxi kama 6 madem.
But ulimspot kwa crowd?
Yeah. Hata tulibonga naye. Huyo besti yake alintroduce kwake.
Mliongea je?
Aliambia dagi naona kuna job get busy.
The family of Agnes Wanjiru would spend about the next 2 months in grief and puzzled about their loved one's whereabouts. However, on the 5th of June 2012, the toilets and other facilities at the Lions Court Hotel got blocked, and a septic tank near the hotel's kitchen was reportedly emitting a foul smell. A gardener by the name John Gishuki, who worked in the hotel's maintenance section, headed to the septic tank to clean it, but what he would uncover in the tank, according to him, would leave him shaken, traumatized, and feeling like he was losing his mind. Inside the tank was the lifeless body of a female floating on the sewage. The police were called to the scene and they ferried the body to the morgue. Rose Wanjiru was called to help identify the body, as her sister had been reported missing in the area in the past few weeks, and when she saw the body, she confirmed that the desperate search for a missing sister had indeed met its tragic end. Rose Wanjiru positively identified the body as that of a missing sister, 21-year-old Agnes Wanjiru. By the time Agnes's body was being discovered, the British soldiers, who identified as those of the Duke of Lancaster, and also who are alleged to have been involved in her disappearance and tragic death, had already returned to the UK. Her family's efforts to secure justice had been frustrated by both the Kenyan and British authorities. The Nyati Barracks, which is the British Army Training Unit Kenya's installation in Nanyuki, is less than 3 kilometers from the Lions Court Hotel. At the time of Agnes Wanjiru's death, events of the British soldiers flocking the location to enjoy nights of beer and fun with local women were not new. At a later date, an autopsy report by Dr. Obero Okoth, a pathologist at the Kenyatta Hospital, revealed the cause of Agnes Wanjiru's death. According to the report, one injury was a blow to her chest, while the other was a stab wound to her lower right abdomen. The report further indicated that such injuries were not likely to cause an adult to die, and that there was a possibility that Agnes Wanjiru was placed inside the septic tank while she was still alive. Although Agnes Wanjiru's murder would become one of the highest profile cases in Kenya, and also a high priority for both Kenyan and British medias, the case would go cold for almost 10 years, leaving Wanjiru's family in despair with zero to minimum being done on the investigation. The family accused the Kenyan and British authorities of concealing the identities of the culprits. However, in 2021, almost 10 years after Agnes Wanjiru's murder, there was a new break in the case. Hannah Alothman, an investigative journalist and a reporter with the British Sunday Times newspaper, together with her team, would drop a bombshell that would leave the case wide open. According to Hannah, the Sunday Times had received some leaked documents containing the names of 7 soldiers involved in Wanjiru's murder back in 2016. However, they were reluctant to publish the information contained in the leaked documents. In a report contained in the leaked documents, Agnes Wanjiru's organs, including her womb, had been ripped out after her murder, prompting Hannah and her team to doubt whether a British soldier would be capable of doing that. However, Hannah and her team would not stop there. They would dig deeper into the case, where they would uncover that the information contained in the leaked documents was just a pack of lies, all in a bid to conceal Agnes Wanjiru's killer. Hannah would therefore track down some of the 7 British soldiers whose names had been included in the leaked documents to interview them on the case, while some members from her team flew to Kenya to gather more information on the case. According to Hannah, on the Sunday Times article of 2021, the identity of Agnes Wanjiru's killer was described as an open secret, as it was well known by the soldiers within the Duke of Lancaster regiment. A soldier, only identified as Soldier Y, claimed that Agnes Wanjiru's killer, only identified as Soldier X, had rushed into the bar where members of the regiment were drinking on the night of 31st March 2012 and confessed to having killed a sex worker. Soldier Y said that Soldier X had led them to the body in the septic tank. Soldier Y added that he reported the incident to senior army officers who were in Kenya at the time, and also accused the regiment of covering the murder. More so, a group chat between the British soldiers who were in the Lions Court Hotel on the night of Agnes Wanjiru's murder, seemingly mocking the death of the young mother, was leaked. In the group chat, one of the soldiers posted 2 pictures from outside the Lions Court Hotel. It was followed by the caption, "If you know, you know." The soldier then tagged several soldiers within the regiment. One responded with a ghost emoji, to which another soldier replied with the words "septic tank," arguably in reference to where Agnes Wanjiru's body was found. In response, Soldier X, who is the man widely alleged in the regiment to be responsible for the murder, got involved and posted an emoji of an angel, which is oftenly used to assert innocence. This prompted other soldiers to reply with the crying with laughter emojis, followed by a cartoon image of a baby crying at a funeral. Bear in mind Agnes Wanjiru left a 5-month-old daughter. Soldier X was then asked if he gets all choked up thinking about the place, an apparent reference to what he is said to have told members of the regiment that he accidentally choked and killed Wanjiru during intercourse. He replied, "Come to think of it, I've had a sore throat today." 9 soldiers were involved in the Facebook conversation, adding weight to claims made by other soldiers in the regiment that Agnes Wanjiru's death and the name of the man said to have been responsible was an open secret. When Soldier X was presented with the Facebook messages, he declined to comment. He had previously told the Sunday Times that he was not surprised that others in the regiment believed he was responsible for the murder. He described the allegations as rumors full of lies, which other members of the regiment used to bully him. When asked if he could remember being at the Lions Court Hotel, he said he was not going to talk about it and that he needed a lawyer to talk about anything. Even after an inquest in 2019, in which Judge Njeri Dhuku ruled that Agnes Wanjiru was killed by British soldiers and ordered 2 criminal inquiries, no action was taken by the British Army, and the commanders had still not questioned the soldiers about the murder. The Ministry of Defence in London insisted that the responsibility to get to the bottom of what happened rested with the Kenyan authorities, who they said were approaching the case with lethargy. By 2021, Kenya had still not yet submitted a formal mutual assistance request to Britain for help in obtaining evidence. The Ministry of Defence in London added that Kenya had asked for the DNA samples of the soldiers which were being provided. However, despite the fact that a lab DNA test is one of the most infamous ways to catch perpetrator in cases where they are highly suspected to have been in a sexual encounter with their victim, this option would not be viable in Agnes Wanjiru's case. Wanjiru's body had badly decomposed by the time it was being discovered, that even parts of flesh precisely from her fingers and toes had fallen off. It was therefore ruled as impossible to obtain any DNA evidence from the remains. After the Sunday Times published the case, sex workers from both Kenya and Britain took to the streets to demand justice for Agnes Wanjiru. More so, it is also after this that Kenya would officially reopen the case. Kenyan members of parliament would therefore hold a sitting with the then Cabinet Secretary of Defense Eugene Wamalwa to portray their concerns over the suppressed investigation. Eugene Wamalwa said that a joint team comprising members of both countries had been formed to conduct investigations into the case. The UK Defense Secretary, Ben Wallace, also added that they were going to facilitate the extradition of the British soldiers involved in the murder in 2012. The members of parliament in Kenya insisted that visitors who committed crimes on Kenyan soil should be tried locally. However, it would not be until 2023 that changes to the Defence Cooperation Agreement between Kenya, the UK and Ireland would be proposed. A team of Kenyan members of parliament held a sitting to review the agreement. They noted that Article 6 of the Defence Agreement provides for various offences which cannot be considered as arising out of official duties and are therefore triable by the host nation. However, murder was not one of them, which means the UK held full jurisdiction of Agnes Wanjiru's murder suspect, and that is what prompted the Kenyan members of parliament to propose a change to the agreement. More so, in the 2021 Sunday Times article, it was noted that a diplomatic source in Nairobi had claimed that it was the Kenyan government that wanted to suppress the investigation of Wanjiru's murder because strong relations between Kenya and Britain were crucial for security. The source told the Sunday Times that Kenya could not afford to damage that relationship, which was vital in the country's fight against Al-Shabaab, adding that without the UK's intelligence, Kenya would be ungovernable. Human rights groups have dragged historic atrocities allegedly committed by UK troops, accusing the soldiers of acting with impunity. Agnes Wanjiru would be 33 years old today. The 5-month-old daughter Stacy, who was left under the care of Wanjiru's sister, is 11 years old at the time of uploading this video.